Right, we are recording now. Brilliant. Okay, hi everyone. Welcome. It's Vicky from Virtual Racing, and I have got Joanne Duffy with me today, and she's from the Institute of Cancer Research based in London, and they are the chosen charity for our Ribbons medal and the Ribbons leggings, which we're really excited about, and we know lots of you have already signed up to. So I thought we'd have a little chat today and find out a bit more about your work and what you do and things like that. So thanks so much for joining us. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been involved with the Institute of Cancer Research and things like that?
Yeah. So I have been working at the ICR since June last year. And yeah, my role is I'm a science communications officer. So basically my job involves kind of taking our research and writing about it in a way that sort of scientists and non-scientists can understand. So making sure that everybody is able to enjoy the benefits of the research that we do here. So it's a mixture of making stories that are internally facing, so that kind of go to the audience within the institutes. There's about 1,000 people altogether, but also stuff for our website as well. So stuff that's externally facing, and also putting together some publications with our fundraising team to make sure that people are up to date on all of the exciting research that goes on here.
Wow, gosh. So, and have you worked anywhere before on that and the same line of work, or?
Yeah, so I started out as a scientist, I suppose. My degree is in microbiology, and I worked in research for a little while, but I found kind of the thing that really got me going was talking about science to other people. So doing science is one thing, but being able to have the chance to kind of write about it and talk about it and get other people excited is what I really enjoy doing. So that kind of led me down the communications path.
And I suppose the fact that you understand the science behind it makes it easier for you to write about it, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I speak two languages. I speak Irish and English, and when I'm writing about science, it almost feels like translating languages. It's kind of understanding one thing and being able to write about it in a different way it's exactly the same as translation between languages. So
wow. And how many people work at the London base then?
So in this building we have kind of the corporate services. So we have our comms team and HR and that type of thing. But also just around the corner in Chelsea, we have a massive research building beside the Royal Marsden Hospital. And then we have a huge research site down in Sutton as well. So that's where the kind of primary research is. But yeah, we also have this Chelsea site. So it all started in Chelsea. Over 100 years ago. So we have a huge amount of research going on in the two locations, and yeah.
Wow. And is it and the research that you do, is it on all types of cancer or anything specific, or?
There's teams for a huge range of cancers. So there's a huge team that work on breast cancer, but there's also teams working on really rare cancers. So childhood cancers as well are a big part of the research here. So there's kind of a team that focuses on different things, around the institute. So,
wow, cool. Okay, so what what kind of things are we likely to associate with? What sort of things have you discovered that the average person will be aware of, or different types of treatment, or?
Yeah, so I think the cause of cancer is damage to your DNA. So that's the root cause of all cancers, is when your DNA gets damaged and the cells start to grow out of control. And that discovery was made here. So the idea that damage to your DNA is the fundamental cause of all cancers was a discovery that was made at the ICR. And also, I think after Angelina Jolie came out with her news a few years ago about her BRCA mutations, so the BRCA genes. So those are genes that, when they're mutated, dramatically increase your risk of developing breast and ovarian cancer as you go through life. And in Angelina Jolie's case, she elected to have a double mastectomy. So she had a double mastectomy to prevent herself from developing cancer. And the BRCA, so there's BRCA1 and BRCA2, they're two different genes, and BRCA2 was discovered here. So the fact that gene causes cancer was a discovery that was made here. So there are two really significant pieces of information: the basic cause of cancer and the BRCA2 gene. They're the ones that always stand out to me as just that fundamental understanding of the science behind cancer is what allows us to then say, okay, well, now we know that this is the damage that causes cancer. How can we use that information to build drugs and to build treatments and make plans for patients that really improve their lives?
Yeah. Wow. So how long ago were each of those things discovered then?
BRCA2 is coming up to 20 years, I believe. I think it's about 20 years, yeah. And the DNA damage one is a lot older. It would be 50 to 60 years, I would imagine, yeah.
Wow. God, and you share this information like worldwide with other similar institutes to yourself all over the world? And
yeah, absolutely. So that's another huge part of the work here, is collaborating with people all around the world. So obviously cancer doesn't respect any boundaries, and it's not a disease that affects, it is a disease that affects people worldwide. So yeah, our researchers work very closely with organizations all around the world on sharing their research and collaborating to make sure that the knowledge is shared around the world. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of the people that work for the institute, are they they're all paid employees, aren't they? So they are all scientists, and
yes.
and it's run like an organization. But where does the funding come from to support the work and the research?
So the ICR is a charity, and we rely hugely on public funding and funding from very generous donors to complete our work. We also receive grants from the likes of Cancer Research UK and other big funding bodies, but we are first and foremost a charity, and it's really important that we get funds from anywhere we can, really, to fund the research. So yeah, all of our we have a mixture of scientists and then what we call clinician scientists. So these are people who are medical doctors, but who also do research. And it's really exciting to speak to them, because they're often people who will, in the morning, have clinic and meet a cancer patient and be helping them through their treatment. And then in the afternoon, be speaking to their PhD student who's doing research on the cancer. So we have this, we call it bench to bedside and back again approach, where we take our science from the bench and we bring it to the hospital and then see what it does, and then bring the information from the hospital back to the bench again. And we're always, the research is always optimizing as they go along. So it's, so for all of those people to be able to do all of the work they do, of course, requires huge amounts of money, and science is unfortunately is very expensive. Yeah. So yeah, we're funded from a variety of places, but the charity is really the important part.
Yeah, and you need to continue to constantly getting in funds, don't you, to keep your work going?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's crucial.
Is there anything in particular that you, in terms of acquiring funds, is there any? Are you trying to fundraise for a particular piece of equipment, or for different offices, or anything like that, or is it just ongoing work?
So it's a mixture of ongoing work, but the big focus at the moment is a new building that we have opening down at our Sutton site. It's due to open later on this year, hopefully around summertime. And it's called the Centre for Cancer Drug Discovery. And so we're moving some of our existing scientists into that building. And the idea is that the building is going to provide a collaborative space for scientists from different disciplines within cancer research to work together specifically on cancer evolution. So you might be more familiar with something like MRSA, which is an infection that people get in hospitals, and we know that it's very resistant to antibiotics. So you can throw all the usual antibiotics at it and they just won't work, because the bacteria have become resistant. And cancer does exactly the same thing. So you might start off with a course of chemotherapy when you are diagnosed with cancer, but the cancer cells become wise to the treatment, and all it takes is a few cells to become resistant to the treatment, but they're the ones that persist. So they're the ones that hang on. And this is the huge challenge in cancer treatment, is resistance. So it's cancer learning to evolve to whatever drugs we manage to throw at it. But there are ways that we can outsmart cancer. And that's what this new building is all about. It's all about trying to find ways that we can outsmart cancer evolution and kind of have the teams working together on ways that haven't been thought of before. So to dream up all these kinds of new ideas. So we're fundraising for that building at the moment still, and that's a huge drive for the funds at the moment.
Yeah, gosh, yeah, it's a huge building like that's probably not certainly not cheap, is it?
No. And equipment and everything to go with it. Yeah. Wow.
Okay. And are any of your buildings open to do any cancer patients come and visit, or do they? Is it literally is it like science labs and all?
They are. It is mostly science labs. Yeah. So we do have a very close relationship with the Royal Marsden Hospital, so there is a very strong patient connection there. But mostly our buildings are just they're very academic in nature, I suppose. But they're just
working places. Yeah. Wow. And your research then, your findings, they can help people, in the UK, worldwide. Like you say, the two big discoveries that you made at your centre that has gone on to help scientists and patients all over the world, hasn't it?
Yeah, and so have some of the drugs that have been discovered at the ICR have gone on to help patients all around the world, in prostate cancer in particular. And there's also some of the clinical trials that we're running that go on to help patients all around the UK who otherwise might not have had such a quality of life. And it's a mixture of kind of developing brand new treatments that have never been done before, but also improving on the current standard of care. So looking and seeing if we can, for example, with radiotherapy, seeing if we can change the course of radiotherapy a bit so that you still get the same effect on the cancer, but that maybe somebody doesn't have to undergo all of the side effects that are associated with the treatment. So anybody who has somebody in their family or friends who has had cancer knows that the treatments can actually be really grueling. So even if you end up with your cancer cured at the end of it, we want to kind of try and make sure that the treatments are a bit kinder for patients.
Yeah. And unfortunately, the statistics of people being affected by cancer are on the rise, aren't they? Is it 1 in 3 or is it 1 in 2 now? Is it 1 in 3?
I think it depends on who you ask. It's either 1 in 2 or 1 in 3. So it is. It's unfortunately, as we get better in other areas of medicine and increase people's lifespans, that unfortunately increases your risk of cancer. So the longer you live, the more cells you have, the more times your cells divide, the more of a chance there is of getting cancer. It's a balancing act to try and find ways with research to overcome that challenge. Yeah.
But equally, the survival statistics are on the up as well, aren't they? People beating cancer and living much longer with cancer. That's all positive, isn't it?
Definitely. And there are people who are diagnosed today where they, it's obviously devastating to get a diagnosis, but they're given a treatment plan where they know that there's some really inspiring patient stories on the ICR website, actually. And there's one recently from a lady called Claire who said, I take my pill every day and I get on with my life. And that's the kind of thing we love to hear from patients, where 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, that might not have been possible for them. Yeah. So there's been a big shift in 20 years. Somebody diagnosed with cancer in the year 2000 might have a very different story than somebody who's diagnosed in 2020, and it's all research that allows that to happen.
Yeah. So we suppose the moral is that we need to keep helping you guys fundraise to keep this going, to sort of find ways to eventually beat it or eradicate it, or at least bash it on the head and know that people are going to come out the other side, really. Aren't that's what you're all about.
Our mission statement at the ICR is that we are making the discoveries that defeat cancer, and I think it just sums the whole thing up perfectly. It's every tiny discovery that a PhD student makes in one lab gets translated to another lab, and somebody thinks, well, what if we approached it this way? And all those little changes and all that effort in research might seem very small if you look at it individually, but when you take the big picture, what you end up with is a drug or a treatment plan that really impacts on people's lives all around the world.
Yeah. Wow. So you sounds like you really enjoy your work. You do.
Yeah.
Really passionate about. I suppose you have to be, don't you? Because it's scientific, but also you're dealing with a disease at the end of the day. But you're flipping it over and going, right, what can I do to make it better? Really make patients' lives better.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that affects everybody. You rarely meet somebody who has never known somebody who has had cancer, and it's just one of those things that it affects everybody around the world. And what could be more important?
Yeah, and that was the reason why we designed our leggings and the ribbon with all the different multicolored ribbons on. And I know that there are some coloured ribbons that we didn't include because there just are so many different types of cancer. But the design of the products have, I think it's 10 or 12 of the biggest or most common cancers. There's a lot of there's a lot of stuff in the news and events organised for things like breast cancer, but there are equally lots of other cancers that people go through and suffer, and that's why we felt that your charity was great because it helps everybody.
Yeah.
Cancer umbrella, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, and there are some cancers that are very common that people might not think are so common. So melanoma and lung cancer are very common as well. And breast cancer, obviously all cancers are devastating, but I think what's really inspiring at the ICR is that there's kind of a piece of research for everybody. So there's research going on into really rare cancers and really devastating childhood cancers as well that often get overlooked. So yeah, there's a piece of research for everybody.
Everyone, brilliant. Okay. So what have you got planned for this afternoon? What's on your workload?
I have a couple of meetings to discuss some stuff for an upcoming publication. So it kind of focuses on some of the clinical side of things with our partnership with the Royal Marsden, and we have some exciting stuff coming up for International Women's Day next week. Okay. So I have some work to do on that. So busy.
Oh, brilliant. So we can all have a look at your website, can't we, and see some information about your work, and I'll pop the link on for everybody to see about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is brilliant. So I feel like I've learned loads, and you've inspired me with your passion and enthusiasm, and like it's great to know that two big discoveries were made, in the middle of London somewhere.
Yeah, on our doorstep. Yeah,
brilliant. Oh, well, thanks so much for joining us, and I will encourage everybody to watch this video because, as I say, it's devastating, but unfortunately, there's not, but it'd be hard to find somebody who has not, doesn't know somebody or hasn't been through a cancer journey themselves. So it does, it affects all of us to know that this work is going on, and we will continue to fundraise throughout this year for you, and hope that we can help contribute to that lovely building that you're about to open.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Oh, thanks very much, Joanne. I'll let you go. Have a good day. See you soon. Bye.